Hi, welcome to Mind Matters channel. Today we are going to learn about minority influence. So we are learning social psychology. So we learn about majority influence. Previous slide, when you see previous slide, you can see majority influence. So today we are going to learn about minority influence. Let's dive into the lesson. So in this lesson, I'm going to talk about define minority influence and explain the key conditions that makes minority influence effective, apply minority influence to real world examples, and evaluate the importance of minority influence in social change. So, what is minority influence in psychology? Generally, the minority, not only the psychology, generally the minority influence refers like a person or a group of people can persuade the majority people, right? A larger group of people to change their attitudes and beliefs and behaviors. So one person also can make a big impact on majority people. You can see from the history, right? Mahatma Gandhi or maybe Nelson Mandela. They're one person. Obviously, just change everything, isn't it? So unlike majority influence, which often leads to public compliance, like minority influence are always internalization. The person obviously attract with their minority people and then change their beliefs and behaviors completely. It's like a long term, but the unlike majority influence is like it's not like long term. Most of the time it comes in order to survive in the group. Personally they might not interested in majority opinion, but in order to survive then they obviously just accept. Okay, that's a majority influence. Majority influence most of the time is compliance, right? So so internalized is like the minority influence, most of the time is internalized, right? Just like change completely. uh, so so in minority influence we can learn about three characteristic of minority influence. One is the consistency, the second one is the commitment, third one is the flexibility. The consistency is the large group disagree, often facing the other direction. In this picture you can see consistency is like a large group of people are obviously reject, still he is standing on his own view, right? So it's just like consistency because he didn't change it, isn't it? The second characteristic of minority influence is commitment. The commitment refer to when a minority shows dedication to their belief despite personal risk. So the minority obviously influence, of course, the person dedicate his time, dedicate his life to just stick on his own opinion, right? So that is called commitment. The next one is the flexibility. The flexibility is this refers to when a minority is willing to compromise and adapt their position while still maintaining their overall viewpoint. So the flexibility is kind of flexible. That within the minority influence, we are showing kind of flexibility and listen others' perspective as well. At the meantime, they won't change their opinion, but without it's just like flexible. They make flexibility, right? So they're not always aggressive manner. They just show their own viewpoint in a in a in a neutral manner, but at the meantime then they are stick on their the viewpoint. Okay, that's called flexibility. These three of them are really important when you are talking about the minority influence. So I'm going to show you one of the example of the consistency is you can see this is votes for women like wanted everywhere. During the 19th century, the woman obviously they some group of people, minority group of people, they just challenge their majority people to get the right for the woman to vote. Okay, so the special word is the suffragettes consistently argued that women should have the right to vote. Okay, they repeated the same message for many years, despite opposition, arrest, and criticism. Like they keep on telling these things many years, even though they face difficulties, but key consistently, they obviously they just do some, the propaganda and just telling these things again and again. So finally, So these people are other people, the majority people, they think obviously their message never changed. Consistency made people to stop and think these people are thinking, oh, this person, I mean, this group of people are just still asking these things, isn't it? But why don't we think about this? Maybe they're right. So something like that change the people's character, I mean, the thinking pattern because of the consistency. Consistency, if you are using the consistency to one your own viewpoint, sometimes it will impact majority people. So finally, they are accepted by the government. Women voting in 1918 and women win the right to vote in 1918. Women over 30 granted the vote. But nowadays it's 18, if the woman become 18, then you obviously you can vote. But you don't know the history, how hard these people just get this right to you. It's called snowball effect, isn't it? Like we don't know. We don't know, but the thing is we just everything's done you know our ancestors, right? They obviously work hard for us to just be just living like this, isn't it? In 1928 women gained equal voting right with men. So this hard work paid, and we are just getting the benefits. We are the benefiters because they work hard. Their consistency comes yeah, continuously they are just stick on this idea, isn't it? The next one is one of the example of the commitment. We all know the Nelson Mandela and his anti-apathy movement, and they, of course, he just created, the anti-apathy movement because during his era, then South Africa undergo racism. So therefore, he just, create the anti-apartheid movement because the apartheid movement is, of course, just about the racist people because the against the minority black people. So he just, create this organization, and then he got he just imprisoned 27 years because of his anti-apartheid movement and his view against those people. So he just sacrificed his life, right? So that's called the commitment. And Nelson Mandela becomes South Africa's first black president April 1994. Even though if he spent 27 years in the prison, it's not easy. We can just tell verbally, but it's really really hard, isn't it? Finally, he became a first South Africa's first black president, isn't it? So it's called the commitment, right? The next one is I can say what happened. What happened? Mandela opposed apartheid, racial segregations. He was imprisoned for 27 years for his beliefs. Why this sort of commitment? Willingness to suffer made others see his views as deeply genuine. Like, people can see how hard is, staying in prison, isn't it? So it's other people are just, sorry about him, and then they think that it's a genuine view, and then it's make him to become a president, and accept, they just, stop this the racism. So the next one is the flexibility. Flexible is a example of Greenpeace and the environmental campaigning. That's called the flexibility. Early environmentalists were small minority people. They introduced the recycling recycling idea. But initially, the people thought that they're mad. It's not possible. They're not bothered about those views, isn't it? So instead of because their technique is like the flexibility their technique is instead of demanding in radical change, like they are not demanding and very forcing to just put this pressure to the government. They promote gradual steps. They just promote like a little by little, little by little. They just promote the steps like recycling, reducing plastic, and then the notice board. They always mention those things, the benefit of the recycling and affect how our earth will affect with this plastic. So those type of things are just flexibility. They are not aggressively demanding their view. to the government. They just, maintain the flexibility and promote gradual steps. That's called the flexibility. Why this is shows flexibility? Because they listen to opposing views as well, appeared reasonable, not stubborn or extremist. They're not showing their extreme view, right? They just view others view as well. Then outcome, after they have done this many, I mean, they just stick on this idea. After that, recycling became a mainstream and governments introduced environmental laws. So recycling become mainstream and the governments introduce environmental laws. So the three important characters we learn about. So I'm going to give the question. You have to just list it, which out of these three things you have to tell which one is which. Which factors affecting minority influence are illustrated by the following example? For each example, write the correct factor in the space provided. Members of religious group give up their Saturday morning to distribute leaflet about the importance of worship. So members of the religious group, the main you need to find the main factors, which is like a sacrifice their Saturday morning, isn't it? And distribute the leaflets and show that importance of the worship. So the sacrifice their Saturday morning, there's no one is going to pay for them, but still they just sacrifice their commitment because they are view they want to this happen, right? So this is one of the good example of commitment, isn't it? Sacrifice, commitment. The next one is an environmental group acknowledge that recycling can be time consuming. Um, so those people are just this is like a flexibility, like recycling is of course time consuming, and they obviously thought that uh, recycling is like it's really good to follow the recycling process, isn't it? So that is called one of the good example of flexibility, right? And consistency is like sorry, my slides has gone other side. As consistency is like even though if you're telling the wrong answer, right, wrong viewpoint, still if you say consistency, if you maintain the consistency to telling the wrong answer, people will believe you and people will confirm you. So that is called the consistency. It's a one individual even can tell the wrong viewpoint, still if they follow the consistency, then obviously people will just trust and act. Okay, so that is consistency. Now we are going to learn about, I'm going to ask you, what is this color? So some people can see this is yellow, some people can see this is orange, right? But it's just like it's kind of yellow and the orange color, shading yellow, shaded orange with yellow. But if anyone, like any person or maybe influencer or maybe any extra any character says, no, this is yellow, if the person keep on saying this is yellow, not orange, because orange is small part, this is yellow here, most of the part. And even though you think like orange, but if the person, that influencer, obviously tell, keep on saying this is yellow, then you obviously just believe that he's correct, isn't it? And you always conform, right? So that is called the minority influence. So I know you can guess that what I'm going to teach you. We are going to learn about Moscovici's experiment. Serge Moscovici, 1969, minority influence experiment. He was interested in finding out how people, I mean, like genuinely telling accepting the wrong answer. Okay, if the person consistent telling same thing again and again, right? Because the aim is to investigate whether a consistent minority can influence the majority, even when the minority is objectively wrong. Okay, that's his aim. And he just chose the 172 female participants, tested in groups of six. Like each of the group has like a six participants out of the 172 female. Each of them are group and then six participants. Two were Confederates the minority person, which is like conspiracies actors. They are not real participants because it's intentionally, like, purposely, Moscovici put those people to divert these minority views, right? But the actual participant didn't know this, right? Okay. So the procedure is participants were shown 36 slides of different shades of blue. They always just show the 36 slides for these people, but different shades of blue color. They were asked to state the color of each slide loud. In the experimental condition, I mean, like, experimental conditions are really important because you are going to see the outcomes, the results, isn't it? The results. The two of them are confederate, consistently said the slides were green. They are purposely saying wrong answer, which is green. Okay. In the control condition, all participants said blue. So there's other control condition. Their participants are all, there's no confederates. All of them are participants. Therefore, they said blue. The variation included an inconsistent minority. Like, he just put the variation, included an inconsistent minority who sometimes said blue and sometimes green. So he just find the variations to see whether these minority people are just saying green and the blue and green and the blue. Then what will happen? That's called the variation, right? So he put this one time, I mean, like, this condition, like experimental condition. The next one is control condition. Then the variation include. Okay. So this is how, Moscow just, conducted the experiment. So the results found in the consistent minority condition, like, it's like consistent means continually, I mean, they told the wrong answer. Participants agree with the minority, like they said green, 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 then didn't change their mind. So the minority people said those things, then the majority also accept that. So this comes nearly 10%, the acceptance, 8.42 percentage. The next one is 32% of the participants confirmed to the minority at least once. So the 32% of the participants confirmed at least, one time. So inconsistent group also just formed, isn't it? So therefore, the 32% of the participants confirmed to the minority at least once. In the inconsistent condition, conformity dropped to 1.25. Yeah. So when you do their inconsistent condition, then of course the minor, I mean, the 1.25 it's dropped. The acceptance was dropped. In the conformity dropped, right? Here 8.42, but inconsistent condition 1.25 is dropped because sometimes they said blue and sometimes these minority people said green. So therefore it's dropped. In the control condition, almost no errors were made. In control condition, there's no confederate, so there's no error. The conclusion, he just concluded that a consistent minority can influence the majority. A minority influence leads to internalization, genuine belief change, not just compliance. And the consistency is key factor in minority influence. Yes, we already know that. So this is the picture I'm going to show you to understand this experiment, because minority influence experiment, this is the slide. This is the confederate actors. The two of them are confederate, and these are the actual participants. And then they they initially said blue, blue. Then after that, if they keep on saying green, 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 finally these people obviously accept them and say green. Okay. For the inconsistent condition, they check the inconsistent condition. Even inconsistent condition, then of course they, I mean, this confederate said green and blue and green and blue. Minority said blue and green. Then it of course it's drop 1.25, isn't it? From the actual 8.25, it's drop it because of these people are minority people said green and blue. Then they obviously just change their mind. Okay. So when you do the evaluation of this minority influence of the studies, we can say one, I mean, I can put one strength, high control. High control means it's happened in the laboratory. So no one interfere this experiment, and also no extraneous variable impact on this experiment, and you can just, if you keep on doing again and again the same experiment, then the same results you just get it. So it's a reliable results are same results you finding means in psychology we can say reliable findings, isn't it? But when you see the limitations, it's an artificial task, colors perception, lack of real world relevance. Like only it's a limitation is it's like artificial task. People know that this is some experiment is there. They are not that much of bother about to telling the correct answer, isn't it? And also color perception is not like always, we can apply the color perception to the real world application, real world scenario, isn't it? So it's a kind of limitation. We can't just, oh, you know, um, artificial task to the real world application, isn't it? The next one is the sample bias also really, all female participants. It's like a gender bias, like he didn't choose any male participant to do these things. So it's really, really, we can't generalize, right? We can generalize his conclusion because sometimes if male participants, of course, just come, then it might be a different result, isn't it? So it's a sample bias. The next one is ethical issues. Ethical issues is like a deception. So the participant actually, didn't know what they are going to measure, isn't it? And also, participant is unaware about the confederates. So it's kind of cheating, isn't it? So it's a ethical issues there. So you can just give three, of course, limitations and maybe one strength. Okay, we can give. So so I'm going to give you one question for you. Then you might answer this question, and you can put this scenario to the minority influence and the characteristic of the minority influence, and just try to answer this question. Steve's psychology teacher is leaving at end of term. Steve would like to organize a surprise fancy dress party for her, but the rest of the class are not convinced that it is a good idea because not convinced that it's not a good idea. Use your knowledge of two or more factors affecting minority influence to explain how Steve can persuade the rest of her class to accept her idea. So you have the idea minority influence, isn't it? Then you have to use your knowledge about the minority influence and how uh, Steve can persuade the rest of the class to accept her idea. So it's really good, the example to, real life applications. This is, then you have to just use it. Use your how you just, persuade their friends. Okay, so I'm going to just, show you the answer. So of course, Steve could persuade the rest of the class by using consistency and commitment. Like consistent, keep on, she could show consistent by continuing to suggest the surprise. Like keep on telling, oh yeah, can you, it's really good to, make this party because of our teacher obviously like this. So keep on just, brainwash or just convince, uh, consistently convince the friends. And also the commitment is here. She could show consistently by continuing to suggest the surprise fancy dress party and sticking to the same idea over a time, which may lead to class to take her opinion more seriously. And also she could also demonstrate commitment by offering to organize the party herself, for example, by planning costumes or decorations and giving up her own time, showing dedication to the idea. Like, he's going to show, I'm going to bring this one. If you don't have the things, then I can bring it from the home, and I have, if you want to, if you are interested, you can come and meet me in the evening at the college to discuss about it. And so this is kind of commitment to persuade the people, isn't it? This commitment would make her proposal more persuasive and increase the likelihood that class will accept. So if you give the scenario, then this is how you have to apply. You can't just randomly give the answers like Steve can just influence the class, obviously class maths, but you need to mention how to do that consistency, how he can do that, and how to use this, the commitment. Okay.